In a previous video, No Hope, No Change for White Folks, I talked about all the things that I didn't hold Barack Obama accountable for. In this video, I'm going to talk about some of the things I hold Barack Obama accountable for. Under the 2 terms that Barack Obama has had as president, he has had next to no impact on rebuilding America's economy or even helping America in any way, shape, or form. For all the 2 terms that we got, all we got was a black president. But did we get an effective fiscal manager? No, because our economy is still stalled. Did we get good foreign policy? No, because things have escalated with ISIL and other situations in the world. Did we get a leader that brought the United States together? No, we didn't get a leader who brought the United States together. If we look at the United States right now, it's a lot more fragmented and dysfunctional than it ever was. If anything, the Obama presidency reminds me quite a bit of the Carter years. Now, Jimmy Carter, he was a nice guy, but he just wasn't qualified to be president. And if we look at the record of Jimmy Carter, it pretty much showed why he was a one-term president. The big problem with Barack Obama is that he's just not a leader. He just does not have leadership skills. A leader is a person who can bring people together so that his agenda and the goals of his agenda can be met. And I saw problems with Barack Obama way back in 2009. Now, during this time, they were supposed to pass an unemployment benefits extension. And instead of Barack Obama taking the lead and saying, you know what, we need to get this benefits extension passed to show that we really care about Americans in the financial crisis that they're in, instead he let Congress go on vacation for 2 weeks and left the American people to fend for themselves. That pretty much was a defining statement for me on Barack Obama's inept leadership. Now, FDR, in contrast, would not let Congress leave until policies were passed that he needed to be passed. With Obama, during this crisis, he allows the Senate and the House to take a vacation. And this is with a complete majority Democrats in both houses. They had the ability to pass this bill without a problem. You had the majority, it could have been passed, and unemployed people like me could have continued to receive benefits. But when I saw him do this, it pretty much showed me how inept his leadership was right there. It was a hairline fracture. And from here on in, I started really looking at this guy's policies and his approaches to diplomacy and things, and it pretty much showed me that he wasn't ready for the presidency. Yes, on the surface, because people looked at his black skin, they said, oh, we're going to have a black president, but they didn't look at his policies, his platform, or anything that he debated on in his campaign. Now, when I really look at him now, it really shows, he just wasn't ready to be a president. He didn't know how to bring people together. And this is something that you need to do if you want to facilitate change, because that was the big platform that he had, was change for America. But if we look at the state of America, nothing has changed since the financial collapse of 2007 and the last years of George W. Bush. It's pretty much been a dead period for the last 7 going on 8 years. Nothing has progressed. The economy is still limping along. And yes, you've ended your Iraq war, but now Iraq is not twice as dysfunctional thanks to ISIL. You've gotten troops out of Afghanistan, and yeah, you've done that. He did get, SEAL Team 6 took care of bin Laden, but at the end of the day, America is still in the same state that it was before Obama got elected. So it's next to no impact. And on top of it, we now have debt from those 2 previous wars, and now we have a whole bunch of more dysfunctional government programs, such as your, Obamacare and your Obama phones, and soon to be your Obama internet. And he wants to even pay for the first 2 years of people going to college. Again, we don't need social programs. What we really need is a way to stimulate jobs and job growth. And this is something that we're not getting under your Obama administration. But I think your Barack Obama doesn't even know how to do this, because, again, he just does not have enough experience in, again, business policy, foreign policy, diplomacy. He just doesn't have the skills that are needed. And he's been giving out, goodies to different people who paid campaign contributions to him, but nothing is getting done. He has not been, the diplomat who can bring, Democrats and Republicans together to in a united front to do what's in the best interest of the country. The country is pretty much running on autopilot while Democrats and Republicans bicker. And the president's job, he's the chief executive. He's supposed to set the tone and the mission for his presidency. And I don't see this with Barack Obama. I don't see him setting that tone. I don't see him setting that direction. I don't see him having that commanding presence. I mean, yes, he's good looking and all that stuff. He looks good in a suit, but there's more to looking good in a suit. You have to be a leader, and he is not the type of guy who has brought people together and united people and gotten them to see that we all can get through this, and that yes, change is hard, but if we all work together, we can change America to be a better place. But we didn't get that with your Obama. He promised change. He promised hope. Now we have no hope and no change. And the country is pretty much running on autopilot, because if we look at Congress, they haven't been doing anything regardless of which party has been in place. And and the reason why they're not doing anything is because the president is not setting a tone or a direction that he wants to go in. And that's what a leader does. A leader sets a tone, and they set a direction, and they set goals, and they set, reasonable goals. And if you look at a lot of Obama's goals, they were very idealistic, but they weren't very realistic, because our unemployment rate is down. But the reason why it's down is because people have walked away from the job market, and they don't want to be bothered with it because they can't find anything, because most American employers create job listings that are literally written in a foreign language, or they have a whole bunch of terms that are just jargon. And the whole thing is that we're not, and then on top of it, a lot of the jobs we're producing are, fast food, service sector jobs, and this is not how you're going to grow and build a middle class. And I look at Obama's policies, and then none of them are going to help grow and build a middle class in America. And this is something that, we have to start working on, and everything, has to be focused on rebuilding that middle class, and rebuilding the entire economy, because all the jobs that we had many years ago that created that strong middle class, a lot of the are now overseas, and American companies are making a middle class in India, they're making a middle class in China, and Americans, with college degrees can't even get jobs at Starbucks, because I have a college degree and I have applied for jobs at Target, and many other retailers, and I can't even get a phone call back. But I look at the American economy, and you're just not creating the right types of jobs for people, and you're not creating the right environment for growth. Everything is pretty much stalled. The country is pretty much stagnant, and it's running on autopilot. And there's nobody leading the ship. Not the Congress, not the Senate, not the president. Everybody has just checked out, and the country is just coasting. And I think that's why a lot of people feel frustrated, and a lot of people are angry, because they see that there's no direction from this president. This president, he promised hope, he promised change, and now he's just he checked out, I think, around year 5 after he got reelected. And he makes a speech here and there, but no real policies have been, pretty much have been presented that really help people. After he got his legacy with Obamacare, he pretty much, decided to check. With Obamacare, killing bin Laden and everything else, he's pretty much decided to check out. And the country is pretty much coasting. And this is the stuff that I hold him accountable for, because, again, the president's supposed to set the tone. He's supposed to set the direction. And it's sad that even with other inept presidents like your Bill Clinton, and I even say your George W. Bush, they were at least strong enough leaders to say, look, we can try to set some sort of direction. This guy has set no direction, I say, from the day he got into the White House. And these days he's just so comfortable and lethargic that nothing is moving in any direction whatsoever regarding this country. I mean, when you have again, you have college graduates who are still working in Starbucks. We have a problem with our economy. When you have a country, where people are pretty much, you have almost 20 million people like myself still out of work, and they're frustrated, and they're just so frustrated they just decide, to just walk away from the entire job market and, pursue other ventures. That's a powerful statement about your American job market. And this is the sad state of affairs that Obama has left. He's left the country, I say, in a worse state than George W. Bush left it in, because, or even I would even go further to say he left it in the exact same state at the term of George W. Bush. And to say that you've been president for 2 terms in 8 years and nothing has really changed for anyone, that's pretty sad. I mean, yeah, this just reminds me so much of New York's Democratic Mayor David Dinkins. And, he was the first black mayor of New York, but all he was black. And he brought nothing to the table to help New York. In fact, New York actually got worse under him than it did under the last 3 mayors, because all he did with his policies was, laissez-faire policies, was allow the crime rate to escalate to the point where we had 2,000 murders in one year, 2,200 murders in the next year, and crime through the roof, people wanting to literally move out of New York, and property values at the lowest levels in the history of the city. And there was no way for revenue to come in because, again, he had no vision, just like Barack Obama has no vision to bring revenue and jobs and, things back to the United States. His policies have been pretty much, laissez-faire, nonchalant. His attitude has been laissez-faire and nonchalant regarding the United States, and he has not set a concrete direction to take the country in. We really need a leader who's going to set a direction for the country to go in. Somebody who can set a set of goals for, building a stronger America, not only internally but externally. And we really need leadership that inspires people. Now, Barack Obama in the beginning, yes, he inspired a lot of people, but he didn't pay off. He set people up, but he never paid off. And the reason why he did that, because again, he didn't have the experience to bring people together, to unite people, and he didn't take advantage of things like with that whole unemployment benefits extension. I would have been rallying instead of just sitting there. He just sat there and let it pass instead of saying, look, we need to get this done. Nobody's leaving until it gets done. And I'm insisting that you guys stay so that we can get this done for the American people. That would have set a tone that would have pretty much defined his presidency, and saying that, look, I'm about change. I'm serious about change. And it would have said, we need to set a direction for this country that says, you know what, we're not going to leave people behind. We're not going to abandon people. And that should have been what his whole thing should have been. That I look at that moment in 2009. That was a defining moment for me. And then later on, I look at his further record, and, it's all empty suit, letting stuff pass by. It's just too passive. And the president can't be passive. He has to be active, and he has to engage the public and get them inspired and get them motivated towards, being the best Americans they can possibly be. And we're not getting that. We never got that from Barack Obama. And those are my issues with Barack Obama. This is what I hold him accountable for. His lack of leadership, his poor domestic policy, his poor foreign policy, his lack of organization, lack of diplomacy. And he's good at making speeches, but he's not good at taking action. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe.